This is also half of my For You page. It is straight women complaining about men. And I was also one of those women that would complain about men back when I thought I was straight and back when I was engaged to a man. And straight women loved to have those conversations with me. We would, for hours, talk about how much we couldn't stand our partners and how men were so misogynistic and like weaponizing competence everywhere. And it was like we bonded over this.
You a damaged goods lady.
We could literally speak for hours, and I'm not joking. And now that I'm dating a woman, it's like all of those experiences that I had with men just don't count anymore. I'm not allowed to talk about men negatively because as soon as I do, a straight woman will defend them.
Yeah, sweetie, because even though it might be hard for you to comprehend, some women actually like men. Trust me, I know. I was in the 3rd grade the first time a girl hit on me. Now, the reason why straight women and straight men dismiss your opinions on this topic is more or less the same reason why I, as a martial artist, dismiss any opinion on martial arts if it comes from a ballerina. And also, having looked at your TikTok page, what you're doing is kind of like someone who hates baseball standing outside the baseball field and screaming at the people playing baseball that baseball sucks and you can't stand baseball players. But guess what?
Nobody cares! Nobody cares! Nobody
freaking
cares! Nobody cares!
Now, seriously, stop giving attention to us straight people and give that attention to your girlfriend. Trust me, women love it when you give them attention.
Dismissed.
They will.
Dismissed!
Why not date a single mother? Now, I know these tough guys out there are very quick to talk badly about single mothers. You know, if a woman falls in love with a man with all of her heart and gives herself to a man, and that man ends up being an abusive, alcoholic, low-life, deadbeat, piece can't keep his hands off her, and she runs away, starts again from scratch. She's still beautiful, body count of 1, and she has this child who she's doing her best to take care of. She hasn't got all the money in the world, and you're a relatively successful guy and you really like her. Why not date a single mother?
Well, Tristan, maybe because if she procreated with an abusive, alcoholic, low-life, deadbeat piece of crap who can't keep his hands off her, end quote, she has very poor judgment and a very poor taste in men, because 99.9 times out of 10, a violent, alcoholic lowlife can't pretend to be a sober, calm, law-abiding member of society. Because, you know, the alcohol messes with your mind and his lowlife entourage is pretty easy to spot, so the red flags were there. She chose to ignore them. But let's pretend your scenario is true, and a pure woman got played by an absolute master manipulator. The reason why I would not commit to this pure single mother is because I don't want to raise another man's kid, especially the kid of an alcoholic, low-life, deadbeat piece of crap who can't keep his hands off of his ex, which I'd probably have to deal with too. Seriously, Tristan, you should stop fishing for female approval. It's detrimental to your brand and it makes you look simpy.
I just want a man that makes 50 grand a year. Okay, that honestly doesn't really matter at this point. But he at least has to have a job. He doesn't need to drive anything fancy. He can drive a Honda for all I care. Like, I drive a Honda. Anyways, and then like, we don't need to go on dates all the time. It could just be like a once a week thing. Like, why is this so hard to find?
So basically, the average man earning an average income. Well, that's not hard to find. But, you know, an average man earning an average income might also not have a six-pack and also might be under 6 feet tall and under 6 inches. You still willing to go for a guy like that?
That is ridiculous. No, hang on, I won't do your...
Oh, shut up.
Yeah. Every time I see a woman go on TikTok claiming she wants an average man, I know it's BS, because 95% of the men she interacts with are average, a lot of them are available, and if she actually wanted to be with an average man, she'd be with him, not posting cringe on TikTok.
This chain of logic is correct, and what is correct is sacred. So often people will say the mental load is made up. It's not real. What are you talking about? So here's a real life example of what the mental load looks like in action in the real world. One of my followers DM'd me today and she said, Paige, this just happened to me and I had to tell you. She asked her partner for help with something. Her son had bike day at school. They were allowed to bring their bicycles to school and ride around with their friends. And she said to her partner, can you please put the bike stuff in the car? And her partner said, sure, just remind me. First and foremost, if you're having to ask your partner to remind you to do something that you're agreeing to help them with, it's not actually helpful.
Sweetie, I guarantee you, the husband has more important things to worry about than bike day. So if he told you to remind him, do it.
But regardless, he says, sure, I'll put that stuff in the car. So day of, she assumes he's done his part of the job. The bike is in the car. She can see the bike. And so she brings her child to school. Well, she gets to school and there's no helmet.
Yes, very sad. Anyway.
And I think most of us understand that if you have bike day at school, you also need to bring the helmet with the bike.
Not really, but by all means, continue the cringe.
Well, Dad didn't bring the helmet. And so she had to drive home 20 minutes, get the helmet, drive back 20 minutes, bring it to school, and now she's 40 minutes late for work. And when she brought it up to her partner said, oh, well, you didn't tell me that. You said the bike. But as mothers, we're always thinking about the things that go with the bike. If my kid is riding their bike, my kid needs their helmet. Those two things go together. Doing the full task, knowing the full task, that is the mental load. By putting the bike in the car, he did one thing, but it wasn't actually helpful. It actually caused more work for her. Knowing all the things your kid needs, knowing why they need them is part of it. Knowing that bike day means helmet too is the mental load, okay? Ask yourself, if my kid's riding their bike, do they need their helmet? Because the answer is probably yes. And it's doing that work that so many women are asking for from their partners that actually makes a difference. Doing the simple task of putting the...
Shut up!
Sweetie, allow me to go on a rant of my own. See, I've been riding bikes since the first grade. My mom actually bought me my first bike, and she also bought me bike tools. That's what bike stuff means to me. Bike tools. I never wore a helmet while riding a bike, and whenever I saw a kid wearing a helmet while riding, grade school me thought that kid was an incompetent troglodyte. But anyway, ever since my first bike, the bike was my responsibility. And even when I upgraded to a full-sized adult bike in the third grade, the bike remained my responsibility. I got better bike tools and I did all the maintenance myself, tightening screws, various adjustments, knowing when and where to apply Vaseline. I did all of it as a third grader. And guess what? I'm still riding that bike to this day. So if I were to put third grade me into your little scenario, if I had bike day at school the next day, I'd put the bike and all the bike stuff in the car myself. It wasn't my mom's job. It wasn't my dad's job. They both had grown-up stuff to deal with, and they didn't have to worry about the mental load of doing kid stuff because they taught me how to be self-sufficient. See, the reason why a lot of you lovely ladies have to worry about mental loads is because you're parenting wrong.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so.